in the Leonard and Gail Pedlou property south of Ronan. How many acres? 160?
70.5, 170.5.
170.5.
Okay, we have a motion by Carol, second by Martin. Questions? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks
Jody.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody need a break before we go into the budget? Okay, well, let's take 5. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Next up, we have we have a resolution from Ruth and then the third quarter budget. Go ahead, Ruth.
Esquext. Please sit with them. Yes, on page 20 in your packet is a resolution to approve the FY 2022 total allocations. And we had discussed these in Budget Committee on August 25th. And the estimates at that time were actually more than what you're asked to approve today. So those were due to adjustments that I made in both of the compacts for spending authority and also to increase facilities maintenance for additional program staff. But the net effect of all of that is actually a reduction to the 140.8 million that you are asked to approve today.
Thank you, Ruth. Go ahead, Martin.
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 budget.
Okay, we have a motion by Martin, second by Anita. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. Okay, beginning on page 22 of your packet is the third quarter financial report. Of course, the third quarter ended June 30th, 2021. Beginning with kind of a long list there of some summary and the overview. Obviously, in our non-recurring one-time revenue, the American Rescue Plan Treasury Award of 38.9 million that we received in May was our single largest non-recurring revenue and single revenue period for the quarter. Looking at our year-to-date revenue per population is now 18,306. That's just slightly 1/3 of that total for the year. With that award from Treasury and American Rescue Plan, the share of our total revenue has increased in the federal source side. It's now just over half. And that has increased compared to last year at the same time. But conversely, share of revenue from tribal sources, and because of that increase in federal source revenue, tribal revenue is now just over 1/3 of total revenue compared to a year ago. The general fund, which is all the tribal source revenue, enterprise dividends have greatly increased compared to last year. In third quarter, we see a 6-fold increase there. We now have almost 8 million in revenue received through third quarter compared to last year. In the total general fund revenue, or excuse me, on expenditure side, the total revenues for third quarter are just a little less than the first and second quarters of this year. Total expenditures are 25 million more this year compared to last year at this time. Total of just under 115 million. Salaries and wages, and looking at 1,200 employees, are averaging 10,883 per employee for the third quarter. And total expenditures per population, 16,379. On that next page, first part of that, on that pie chart, see the total revenue for the quarter is similar to the first and second quarters, just about 1/3 of total year revenue in each of those quarters. The tribal source revenue by total is just ahead of federal. It's at 48% of the total. And the second chart on the bottom of that page, the significant sources, which we would look at as exceeding 5 million, are reflected in those 4 major sources: the tribal general fund, both of the compacts, and in the third-party collections. And on the next page, looking at year-to-date revenue compared to last year, have an increase of just over 31 million. And federal funding, again, referencing that American Rescue Plan Act award is what is accounting for that increase in the total. The second chart is in detail of the different sources of revenue, and you see how those big sources of revenue I just mentioned compared to the rest of those types of revenue. And on the next page, again, the year-to-date revenue by source, looking at what is called OAB. The next page, please. Thanks for running that, Martin, because I'm reading and you're running the screen. The year-to-date revenue by source, the OAB, federal contracts and grants, that's what has received that American Rescue Plan Act. And so the draws for revenue are reflecting that's the biggest revenue to date by source. The list at the bottom, general fund revenue, this is all the tribal sourced revenue. We project what is coming in and we would like to see at least 75% by the end of third quarter. So all of those are looking very well. The only one that is behind is dedicated trust. Will receive the loan payment, or I'm sure it has, I think, just been booked actually for September 1st. You'll see in the fourth quarter that catches up and should be pretty close to what we have projected. So all of it looking quite well at 86% of projected. On the next page, on the expenditure side now, largest expenditures by function remains in health and human services. And it's just a little bit less than last year for the same period. But right behind that is going to be government services. You see at the second chart, the line reflecting government services is right behind health and human services, just over 30 million for the year. And this is reflecting the big expenditure for CARES Act relief payments that we distributed in December 2020. And also the other large categories of expense attributed to CARES Act funding that you see there in the narrative, such as for the homelessness projects, the network upgrades, and for economic development grants to the tribal businesses. On the next page, okay, but total budgeted expenditures of just over 300 million are just 37.5% expended for the end of the third quarter. Again, we wouldn't want to see anything over 75%, and it looks like the closest one is per capita, which is right where it should be. We've distributed 2 payments through June 30th, so that should be 2/3 expended. And at the bottom, second chart, looking at year to date, we've increased 23 million in expenditure over the same period last year. And again, that governmental services spending, if you look line by line, most of those have actually decreased from the prior year, but that big increase in governmental services is accounting for that total increase. And on the final page, look at the tribal council's operating budget, remaining well below 75%, remaining underexpended primarily due to the lack of travel expense. And so there's no real major issues to note in that budget. Is there any questions? Again, I apologize for racing through it really quickly.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, our third-party revenue seems to have flattened out, correct? Or is it, I know it's just third quarter, but I guess we do have a whole quarter coming up, so it'll increase quite a bit. I think it was on the first or second or third.
Yeah, on page 4, the third quarter revenue at 5 million is actually right tracking along with what they've been doing and significantly ahead of their $11 million total year projection. So they are, I'm gonna guess, gonna exceed 20 million for the year.
Okay, so no, I'm on page 26. It says third party
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the
collection.
report.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at. So, but thank you for that information, Ruth. So we're going to be at 20 million in third party collections for the year. So we are increasing quite a bit then.
Yeah, last year they actually had 23 million, and that was due to a one-time kind of a adjustment deposit for prior period billing that was catching up. So we wouldn't expect to see just 8 more million sitting. I would hope that we would, get to a more regular level there. and not have to be doing the catch-up collecting.
How far does that collection go back? Do you know?
I could not tell you that specifically because I'm not familiar with what the rules are for a prior period billing. I would imagine it shouldn't go back too far, maybe more than a year or two. I could
Oh, okay.
ask, yeah, I could
Yeah,
inquire
because
as to that.
I know people are bringing bills in that were in 2009 and 2010, and I wonder, well, why can't we cover those? But yeah, I understand they have a process to go through and an appeal.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I was just curious about that. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, just to kind of further explain on that, and, Medicaid, it is, pretty important to get those bills billed and collected, because if there's a payment coming from paid care, being payer of last resort, all resources have to apply. So that can have an impact on the delay, if we could call it that, in the tribal health paid care applying, which also can cause, many years of, going by before claims are finally settled. So that's something I would hope you would be aware of and to be monitoring for, performance by the department. Anything else?
Any other questions from council? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the report.
So
Martin,
moved.
motion by Martin, second by Bing. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you for your work on this.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, next up, we have a legal update. I think we're just waiting for Rhonda. Good morning, Rhonda. We're just a couple minutes early. If you want to go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning again. I have impaneled 3 attorneys to look at the presentation of the complaint this morning. Dan Decker, Mike Wheeler, and I will look at it this afternoon. I didn't see anything new. So just to let you know. We have presentation. I'm not sure if they want to do it in open or closed. Chelsea, do you have a preference?
I think closed would probably be best.
Okay. And then we have the Mike and Shane marijuana update, and Stu has an update as well. So if we